Hey everyone, how we doing? I am going to come on here for like half an hour and show you some new ideas for the Prima Moulds. So welcome. I am Chelsea from Apple Blossom Way, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight. So I showed some sneak peeks and then some full reveals of the new molds that they just released, and this was my little project. And I thought, shoot, I should have done a dresser or something bigger. And the more I thought about it, I thought tons of people have old bottles laying around, whether they're like old jars, canning jars, mason jars, just any old kind of cylinder shape just laying around. And so, and it's a quick, easy project to do, and it can totally change it. So something that you might throw away, an old jar, bottle, container you might throw away, now you can upcycle it and keep it. So I changed my mind and decided it was the perfect project to do because it made sense to a lot of people right now. And actually I was just looking at this. So this is my water jar for my brushes, but this is actually, we love jalapenos or pepperoncinis. I don't know if you guys eat those, but these are the jalapeno jars that they come in. And I love the size and shape of these, and so I save all of them. I soak them in water and take the labels off, and I use them for my brushes or anything, but these would be really cute to do what I'm doing tonight, what I'm demonstrating tonight. It would be cute to do on your old jalapeno jars, like jams, jellies, any kind of jars that you buy at the store. Just save them, take off the labels, clean them up, and then just throw them in a pile and have a night with your girlfriends, and then you have a whole bunch of jars. You've got your molds, and then you guys can whip out some really cool vases or makeup brush containers. I mean, pencil holders. There's tons of different things that you can do with old jars. So that's what I'm going to show you tonight. And as you guys come on, say hello and tell me where you're from. I am out here in Salem, Utah. It's about an hour south of Salt Lake. And so these are the ones that I showed. This is painted in Wise Owl Urban Rhino, and I just sprayed these while I was spraying another dresser. And then this mold is done with the modeling material from ReDesign with Prima, which is what I'm going to demonstrate and show you how I apply it tonight. And then this one I did with an epoxy resin pour and applied it. So you can see how it's much more firm and how it sticks out from the bottle and gives some dimension, which is really cool. And the epoxy is the way to go if you want to do something like that. So I'm going to show you how I apply that and why it would be different than a modeling material as well. And I'll show you the one I use, although there's tons of epoxies you can use, and I know some people like, it's like a 10-minute epoxy. This one's an epoxy pour, so it depends on what you like. Hey, Kim and Roz, how are you ladies? So I will set these aside and we will get started. Okay, so on this one I've already applied, this is the new, let's see, aviary? The aviary mold. And I've just applied some of it, like a couple birds, and then some of the blossom branches. And then this is just an old bullet bourbon bottle. And this is the modeling clay, and then I glued it on. So I'm going to paint this with you so you guys can see what I'm going to do next. And as it's drying, I will do a mold with you and apply it so you guys can see that part. And I thought it would be kind of fun to do a metallic finish. And so when I do metallic finishes, a lot of times if I have a raw surface like this, glass, something I really want it to adhere well to and pop, then I'm going to use a dark base. So this is Wise Owl Black that I'm going to use as my base. Usually I'll use that or carbon. I really like either one of those as a base. And then I'm not going to prime it. I'm just going to apply it straight to the jar. And I applied this mold probably, I created it and applied it about 3 hours ago. And then since it's a nice hot day here, I just set it out in the sun and let the sun just bake it and dry it. And it dried it very quickly. So if you're in a cooler temperature, if it's winter, then, and you're gonna have to keep them inside, then what you're going to want to do is do the mold, apply it, and then leave it, do it at least a day before, so it has time to kind of dry. And then if you paint it too soon, you can risk it crumbling or coming off. It won't adhere as well. So I'm just roughly getting that base coat on, and then just kind of stippling around the mold to make sure that I get in all the crevices. Some of you may have missed, but when I did my other bottles, I sprayed it with my sprayer because I was spraying something else. So if you're doing a bunch of these, let's say you have a booth or something coming up, then it would be a good idea to get all this done, set them all out, and just spray them all at once. And then it's very quick to do, and then you don't have to worry about getting in your crevices when you spray. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it on the front for now. I'll do the back later. But that is just the black, and it's kind of cool. Now it's all one color, and you can kind of envision where we're gonna go with this. So I'll set this aside and I'll let it dry, and I will show you how I applied this while this is drying. And then when it's dry, we can add metallics. So like I said, I do a dark color for my base for metallics, and then stick my brush in there. And then I only need one coat. I don't have to fully cover it. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, so to apply my mold, I'm going to demonstrate the modeling material, and I just grabbed the aviary mold to show you. Another cool mold to use for bottles and things would be, it's the Ancient Findings. This would be really rad to have on the fronts of bottles or jars, anything like that. This mold would be super cool for that too. So, and even the Herbology, that one is really pretty. So this, I actually did a couple to show you. So this is an Herbology, part of an Herbology mold. And these, you guys, these are just, if you know what these are, comment. Tell me what these are used for. Okay. So this is the Herbology mold, just parts of it. And then I did one with the Wilderness Rose and just glued it on there. Hi, Paula. So these are, they're just flower pots. When you go buy all of your flowers at the beginning of the season to plant them, or your peppers, tomatoes, things like that, they come in these. And I saved all of them and put the molds on. I'll paint them, they'll look super cute. And then I can plant, I save zinnia seeds. So if you're growing zinnias, they're just really beautiful, colorful flower. When they die at the end of the season, you can just pull the heads off and you crumble the seeds into like a paper bag and just keep them and store them in the shelf. And then next year you can replant the seeds. And so now I have free little pots with my molds on them. And then I can put my little seeds and dirt in them and then get them started, and they'll get some leaves on them, and then you can give them away. About Mother's Day would be perfect. So next year, or Father's Day, you could do like peppers or tomatoes, even starts in these. It would be kind of a cute little thing. And yeah, just save them. So that's just an idea for you. But I want to show you applying this because I've had quite a few questions on that. Hi Karen, how are you? All right, so the modeling material is just super moldable. It's kind of like Play-Doh, similar material to that. And so if I have something that's really curvy, or a cabinet door, or salt and pepper shakers that have a lot of curve to them, then I want to be able to use this and mold it into that shape. So I will do it and I'll apply it while it's wet. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of flowers here. And I just kind of push it into its place. Get what I want. We'll come up to the leaves a little bit here. But I'm not going to do the whole thing because it would be too big for my salt and pepper shakers. I imagine you could get these at the dollar store. My mom was going to throw them away. So how do I seal the pots? You know what? I have several pots that I've planted outside with, and I've used the Untitled Chalk synthesis paint, and I don't seal them. You can totally seal with varnish if you like to, but on those ones I don't seal them, and some of them I've had out there for, I don't know, a year and a half, and the paint's still great on them. And it hasn't, even through the weather, and I leave them out through the winter and they're fine. So you don't have to necessarily seal it. If you want to seal it, then you want to use a varnish, but don't use a wax because it will melt in the sunshine. Karen, I'll show you that. I'll show you the cracks. So with modeling clay, yes, you can get cracks in it, the crackling. If you want a super smooth mold without any of that, then I'm going to show you the resin, what I use, and I'll show you what it looks like too. So, all right, so just pull it out just like that. And then I'm going to apply it while it's wet. So you can let them dry, but then you can't shape them and mold them. Oh, you're welcome, Marty. Where do you get the molds? These are from ReDesign with Prima, and I can drop you a link in a little bit. All right, and then I use Gorilla Glue. If I can get this open. There we go. You can use most any wood glue, will work, but this is what I typically use. And then I'll just put the glue right onto the mold. And I don't care if my glue goes over onto the edges of whatever I'm doing, because I'm gonna paint it and it's gonna cover that up. So I'm not too worried about that. Okay, and I'll take my little salt and pepper shaker, and then I'm just gonna go for it. I was going to kind of place it, and then I just kind of gently push it down into place where I want it to go. Isn't that cool? This would be really beautiful for a wedding. So some weddings on the tables, they have, you know, all set up pretty, and you have like maybe a salt and pepper shaker for your dinner. Wouldn't that be beautiful if you painted them white and then you just had the white, like a white molding or silver, or that would be actually really elegant. And then it's what, $1 at the dollar store, and then you have, then your mold you can reuse over and over, and you can use the modeling clay if you want, or a different medium. So pretty, huh? I like that. And then I'll do the pepper shaker, and then I'm going to show you guys 2 different mediums besides this that you can use to do your, let's do a bird for the other one. I think that'd be pretty to do your molds with, sorry. Thank you, Marty. I just got them. I just got my hats in, so I will have them available shortly. I do love them. Okay. Oh, and another thing I was going to tell you guys too is if you're doing a bunch of these and you're not going to apply them right away, like I just grabbed that, popped it out and applied it right to my salt and pepper shaker, and if I am not going to do that right away, then I'll set them out on like a cookie tray, on like I set a baking drying rack on top of a cookie sheet, and then I just set them all on there, and then I take my little baker's rack and I stick it in my freezer, and then they'll stay good. So you can leave them in your freezer for a while, and then when you're ready to apply all at once, you can just pop out of the freezer, and then they'll start to mold and move, and then you can apply them all. It's pretty cool. How long for the clay to harden? Depends on how the temperature you've got it at. So this clay, I did this about 3 or 4 hours ago. I stuck them out in the sunshine, glued it on, stuck it in the sunshine and the heat, and they're totally dry. This one was totally dry enough to paint. If it's cooler out or if you're indoors, I usually wait overnight before I paint anything. And then this is our little bird for, I don't know if it'll be the salt or the pepper yet. So we will kind of stick it right on there. And I'm pushing hard enough so it will go where I want it, but not too hard because I don't want to ruin the design. But you can push, you can push quite a bit on it without affecting the design. All right. So I just make sure it's all secured in the crevices. And then because it's getting dark out now, I'm going to let them dry overnight inside. And then we have our little salt and pepper shakers. This would be really beautiful with like 2 doves. These aren't doves. Well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of birds these are, but 2 of them would be pretty. Okay, so these will have to sit overnight before you paint them. Okay, now let me show you 2 other ways. I'm not actually going to demonstrate these, but I am going to show you them and talk about them so that you guys have an idea of what you can use, and I'll tell you why I use the different mediums and why I prefer them for certain things. Okay, so the first one I showed you is the modeling clay. That one is if I have a quick project I need to do, and quick meaning I need to apply it quickly to get in the crevices, and then I have time for it to dry before I'm gonna paint it. Because it's ready to go right now, as it is, okay? If I don't care if it might get a little crackle in it or something like that, and I'm okay with that, then I will use it. Because it can be a little more unpredictable in that sense, okay? That's when I will use this. The next thing that you can use is hot glue. So the cool thing about the molds is they're made out of this silicone material, and so they're heat resistant. You can put chocolate in these and make chocolate molds. I've done it. And if you do cakes, I have a friend who does cakes. She'll put like fondant or gum paste, other things in there. But hot glue, so it's not going to melt your mold or hurt it in any way. You're just gonna take the hot glue and just pipe it right into your design. And then once it's dry, you can pop it right out. And then you can use your design. I will use hot glue if I'm in a hurry, if I don't want any cracks or anything like that. And then you can apply it. Don't use hot glue to apply your hot glue mold to your piece because it won't adhere the way you want it to. I did test that out and it doesn't work. So you'll want to use like a wood glue or something similar to this, or a craft glue if you're going to use your hot glue. So just pipe it right in there. Then it's moldable and bendable. It's going to be thicker. So if you have a dresser that has crevices like in a door, let's say you have a cabinet door just like this cabinet behind me, and you want the mold to kind of go over those little crevices right there, don't use the hot glue because it's going to be more stiff and you can't push it into those crevices. That would be one that you would probably want to use the modeling clay for tight spaces like that. But it's a bigger curve or like around this, like I showed you, this would be great to use a hot glued mold from, okay? Now the other one, hey Lisa, how are you? Well, that's nice. Okay, now the last one I want to talk about before we paint our freaking awesome bottle there is epoxy resin, okay? This is what an epoxy resin mold will look like, okay? They're really, really beautiful, and they are super, sorry, I wanted you to be able to see, but you can see every single detail in this mold. They're very precise and very crisp, okay? So this would be ideal for putting on a flat surface, or like I said, if you want to give some dimension to your piece, because it gets really hard, so it can stand on its own without having to adhere. Now, can you mold these? Yes, you can. So resin epoxy comes in, this is the one I typically use, and I use this because, or larger sizes, because I'll usually pour extra molds when I'm doing like an epoxy countertop or a sink or something like that. Then I'll use my extra. But they do have lots of different epoxies or quick setting epoxies that you can get on Amazon. So you guys can check it out and look for your favorite there. Now, so epoxy is generally two parts. So it has a hardener and then it has the epoxy resin. And then you're going to take them, you mix them together, follow the directions. You're going to mix it for usually it's like 9 minutes or something, depends on the piece or the product. And then once it's all mixed, you want to wear gloves. And epoxy resin does not just wash off with water. So don't use anything that you use, you're either going to plan on using it for epoxy resin forever or you're going to throw it away. So I use cheap things, like I'll grab a plastic spoon to put it in, things like that I'm going to throw away. Then you're going to pour your resin right over it, and you can take a stir stick and just swipe it and get all of the excess off, and then you're going to leave it, let it sit. Epoxy resin takes time to cure as well. So like I said, there are some that cure rapidly. This takes, I think I waited a day and a half for this to be able to get it out of the mold. And it will be like Jell-O. You can't get them out until they're cured. I mean, there's no way. So let it sit for a couple of days. If you let it sit overnight and then you let it sit in the sun for a while, usually that's enough to get it cured to get them out of the mold. And it's not going to ruin your molds. You might even get some extra on the edges. Don't worry, when it's totally dry, you can kind of move your mold like this and it's going to peel right off of your mold, so it won't hurt it. And so pour it in there, wipe off your excess, or you can take a little, I've taken like a, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Like an injector, like a medicine injector, and you can scoop, it can kind of get your epoxy into that, and then you can actually kind of just squirt it into the mold, and then once it's totally dry, they'll pop right out. Now epoxy, and I just kind of check it, so when I know I can get it out, I'll pop them out. Now they'll be in a state where they're a little bit moldable and pliable. So if you have a surface that is curvy, that's when you would want, thank you, a syringe. That's when you would want to apply those, is right when you've got them out, and you can still kind of bend them and work with them. You can hit them with a little bit of heat, and then that will let them loosen them up, so you can still bend them and work with them. But if you let them sit for a long time, they're going to be really, really hard, okay? And so if I try and bend this, I'll snap it. I'll actually probably snap part of it off. So you'll want to use them quickly, or if you have a flat surface, then you can wait and use them. Or if you want to give a 3D effect like I did on this bottle, you can wait and use them then. You can use the wood glue. I applied this with wood glue, or you can use like a super glue. It's up to you what you want, and then you can paint it just the same. So that's the reasons. The modeling for a quick project that I want to mold, it's ready to go and I can do it now. I don't mind if it might crackle a little bit or I have tight spaces. The glue, same thing, quick project. I don't want any crackling because it will not do that. And it's going to be it's going to stay the exact same size. Also, the modeling material shrinks a little bit. So that's why I always apply them and then paint them after they're totally dry. Because if I paint them and they're not dry, it will shrink, and then I'm gonna have an area that's unpainted because my clay shrunk. So, and then epoxy resin if I want a very highly detailed piece, 3D effect, or if I want to be able to mold it quickly. All right, so those are the reasons I use them, and that's what they look like and why. And then I saw a couple of questions, so let me just peek here. Can you apply the molds after your clear coat on furniture? Yes, you can. I've done it before. I recommend trying to do it before and then painting them after they're applied, unless you're using like an epoxy or something where they're already hardened and they're not going to shrink or anything like that. Yes, I have pictures of this on my site. This is my stone finish. So I've created the Apple Blossom Way stone finish. I teach classes on it, and the group is awesome. The people in it are super cool. It's online, so you can find information on that on my site, appleblossomway.com. Let's see, if I were putting molds on a chest like the one behind me, I would or could use a combination of the modeling clay and glue. Yeah, sure, why not? You can use both kinds. I don't see why you couldn't, especially for different parts of it. I would do it. Hi, Greg. Okay, so we're back to our bottle here. Let's add some metallics so I can show that to you. Got a few more minutes and then I'll let you guys go and you guys can try it out yourselves. Yeah, you bet. My neighbors are here. They went to Costco and they brought me stuff from Costco. They're the best neighbors ever. Okay, so I'm gonna use Weisel Metallics. This one, they're heavy metals. They are so awesome. They don't need a top coat and they go on butter smooth. I love them. And you can get those on my site too, appleblossomway.com. So I'm gonna use the mercury and bronze to show you. Oh, they're so awesome. They're not glittery at all. They're beautiful. And then, like I said, I got my black base coat. So this is why, I'm just gonna show you why I do my black base coat. What? Isn't that cool? That's beautiful. Thank you, Jason. I owe you guys dinner. Seriously, he's like, not only did they get my stuff at Costco, he's bringing it in my house. Those are good neighbors. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, that's killer. See, and I love that too because I can I don't have to have like the full coverage and I can let some of that black show through. And then if I add a glaze over top of that, then it's really going to enhance it and pop it. So it's not gonna be dry enough to add a glaze right now with you guys, but I'll get this painted on here and then I'll add a glaze and I'll post pictures so that you guys can see what it's gonna look like with the glaze. And then before my mercury metallic is dry, I'm gonna add some bronze. You're welcome. Thank you guys for watching. It's fun when people learn from you. So this just kind of warms it up a little bit. Then I can add like a little bit of rust. I have a color called iron oxide that I created with Weisel paint, and it's the perfect rust color. And I think that would look really cool, like on the bottom, like this has been sitting for a long time and rusted. So now we have this old glass bottle that looks like a really cool metal bottle. And when I add that rust and glaze, it's gonna look like it's been sitting around for 100 years. It's gonna be rad. Cool, huh? Isn't it amazing? This is the kind of stuff you guys can do. Grab something old, salt and pepper shakers from the dollar store. Your little pots, planting pots. Paint them up, put some seeds in them, and give them away to friends for their birthdays or succulents in those. Because guess what? Succulents are gonna last forever in these. They don't need much water. And that would look really cool. All right, well, I'm gonna let you guys go. The bottles I've just collected over time. I showed this one earlier. This one's used to have jalapenos in it. So any kind of bottles that you have. I think these are old whiskey bottles. And this one is a bullet bourbon bottle. So just what you have laying around the house or what you can find, and then start doing it. Create something cool. And if you guys do, please share with me on Apple Blossom Way. I would love to have you over, and I'd love to see your projects that you guys do. And I hope you guys have a good night. Peace out. See ya.